Angie at home.
Yeah.
A joke is, Cheryl and I have been so many Lincoln Day dinners, we stand and say the pledge before.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the special board meeting of the Clay Township Board on Tuesday, September 26th at the John Hensel Government Center. Mary, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Submission of certificate of petition for the Historical Society Building Project.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brian Bosma, Council to Clay Township. I've submitted to you and have here for the meeting two auditors' certificates of petitions. The statute requires that we have at least 25 petitions for this type of lease. It's 50 for the other procedure that we've gone through. But as these are park and community options, projects rather, it requires 25. You have more than that. The chairman did point out that what was distributed, the certificate had been crossed from the petitions, so we'll be sure that in the transcript, the correct certificate is with the correct petition. For the 126th Street pedestrian bridge and trail, there were 47 owners of taxable real property, 47 actually for both of them. But a few, as I indicated, a few people always sign that for some reason aren't taxpayers, either their spouse is listed on the property or there's an error. So you have those petitions, and we'll be sure they get into the transcript, and they're here available for the public if they need to see them.
Thank you. Public hearing on public utility and benefit of the Historical Society Building Project.
We've invited, and I'm not certain, I'm sorry, I don't recognize folks with their masks on. We've invited some folks here from the Historical Society to talk a little bit about their project, Mr. Chairman, so maybe that's the place to start, and then members of the public can speak on it.
I'll start with my mask on. If you can't understand me, let me know.
Loud.
My name's Debbie Gangstad, and I'm the Executive Director of the Carmel Clay Historical Society. For literally decades, our organization has worked out of the small Monon Depot Museum and wished for a much larger, more permanent structure. We've gone through a variety of methods to do that, and we are very pleased to see that the Clay Township Board has stepped up for our organization. We feel like this building would provide a great resource, educational resource for people to learn more about our community. It would provide also a great place for our artifacts, which we currently have to be more environmentally controlled. And finally, we feel like most of all, it would create a great deal of community spirit. I think we have lots of new citizens who love our town but don't really realize that that foundation was set for many years earlier than any of us for a strong, it was built on religion and continued with education and literacy and all good things. So we are very thankful to have this opportunity to speak on behalf of having a new museum that would benefit our community in a variety of ways. Are there any questions?
Debbie, I got one. The township did something for the Dad's Club. The bond didn't cover complete what the Dad's Club wanted, and we asked them if they had the wherewithal or the financial backing to be able to come up with any shortfalls. Do you guys have enough reserves? If anything would come up short, that you guys would be able to help finish the building with this pandemic and environment we're in right now? We don't know what's going to happen on those bonds and stuff. We want to make sure we don't give you 3/4 of a building. We want to make sure we have a full building that's completed.
Right, I understand. We would want that same thing. A couple of years ago, when I first started this job, I reached out to a number of our members and asked them to make a pledge, not necessarily to write a check at that point. And I think we could definitely come up with a good deal of money. We have a reserve, but I think that we would have the backing of numerous people that have kind of held back a little bit because they didn't want to have to fund the entire building. Now that they see that it's a doable thing, I think that we can definitely come up with some additional funds.
Debbie, it's my understanding that you've also made the commitment to front-load the demo of the building to make it a clean slate, cheaper permitting for the township to the.
We felt like if we did our due diligence to prepare the site, that then the construction could start immediately in January, which would be to our benefit, and we'd be happy to do that.
Debbie, when we talk about the demo, people probably don't know about the depot being on a historical roll. Could you maybe
Right.
explain a little bit about what we're
The,
demoing and stuff?
The Monon Depot is on the National Registry for Historic Places, so it is golden and will stay right there. There is a part of that building that isn't on, I mean, it isn't really included. It wasn't historic. We added it on, but we added it on for the HVAC and restrooms. We didn't want to have our docents going out to an outhouse any longer. But we also have a small cottage on that, we call it the cottage, south of that building. It was formerly a river cottage from White River and had been moved and was a rental property for many years. In fact, I lived there as a 5-year-old for a year. It's not a historic building, and it has a number of integrity issues. We're losing the roof, and we have moved all of our artifacts out of that building to go to a more reliable, suitable space. So we're using it basically as a shed to store things. So for that building to come down, we feel like, I mean, not only do we want it to go away, I think it's kind of an eyesore on the Monon. It will also provide the space for the new museum. And we've got some trees too that regrettably, but just understandably have to go.
Last question I've got. With the new building being built, will there be, and the Monon Trail being there and the parking limited, is there going to be a parking issue for the facility, and how are we going to handle that? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's part
I
of the
think
bond is parking.
we know that parking on the Monon is always, an issue, but we have 2 parking garages, well, actually 3, within a block's walk. So I feel like we have that covered. Most of our compromised members will call ahead and say, I've got something I need to drop off. Can you meet me at my car? And we usually can work out saving a space for a period of time to go do that. It's kind of like what we've all been doing at the restaurants lately. It's curbside service. It understandably is an issue. Haven't noticed a problem over at the Goat, and they're right next door. So I think we probably can work it out.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I am working on a committee with another group that is like yours, trying to expand and plan for the future. And their motto is to plan for 5 generations down. In this new building and what your needs are, can you think ahead of what will happen as you grow and what you need for the future?
Mary, we've spent a lot of time talking about that. I think that the building that we have discussed is going to have more space than we need initially, and we certainly have the thought in mind that we want this building to last for 100 years. So we're thinking in the same direction. We have some soil surveys coming out because we would like to include a basement if it allows. If it's not feasible, then we're going to have to go a different way. But at this point, I think that we have a strong case for a good number of years, and maybe even the fact that we could later at some point go up if needs be.
Thank you.
We're trying to keep, I think there was a very good motto about keeping in mind the quality, the cost, and the programming. Of course, we're all about the programming, what's going to happen in there and how it's going to work. But we also are very, cognizant, we're taxpayers too, to make sure we keep the costs, but give a good quality for the cost.
Thank you.
I'll just speak on the cabin, so you guys are aware. If they don't take it down, the city's going to condemn it. So there's nothing There should be no consternation about that building going down, because it's 90 days from being condemned anyway.
And Mr. President, we've confirmed that the historic designation is specific to the depot building, not the property. So there should be no complications, historical complications with the removal of the, whatever we're calling it, the cottage, the shed,
Right,
the utility building.
yeah. Okay? Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on the Historic Society? Public utility and benefit of White River pedestrian bridge and trail improvement project. Michael?
Good morning. Michael Klitzing, Director of Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation. I want to begin by thanking the board for considering this project. One of the things, as you likely recall, is that we developed a new 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Every 5 years, we do so as required by the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. And within that, which is largely based off of public input that we've received, as well as input from key stakeholders like the board and City Council, Park Board, is we identified what we called our forward focus, or top 4 priorities for the next 5 years, which goes through 2025. And one of those top 4 priorities, which has been one of our priorities for quite some time, but we haven't made as much progress as we would like, is enhancement of the White River corridor, so from 96th Street to 146th Street. And within that is the expansion of the White River Greenway. Currently, in conjunction with Hamilton County Parks and Recreation, we have a roughly 2.5-mile trail that starts in River Road Park to the south and proceeds to the north, almost to property that is owned by Connor Prairie. Over the course of the same time that we were developing the current Parks and Recreation Master Plan, we also were a participant in the White River Plan, which is a regional vision plan that encompasses both Hamilton County and Marion County, Indianapolis. And within that, one of the focused areas was, and they changed the name of it. At one point, it was the Allisonville Road area. I think it ultimately became the Connor Prairie area. But really looking at that area from roughly 126th Street to 146th Street. And why that's really important is that in that particular area, Connor Prairie is looking at how it can better utilize its property, not only on the east side of the White River, where their current museum experience is, but also on the west side of the river. Most people don't realize that Connor Prairie actually owns more property west of White River within the city of Carmel and Clay Township than they actually own in the city of Fishers. So with that plan, with our master plan, and then also Connor Prairie's own master plan, we've been working very closely together to identify how can we further enhance all of our visions, all of our goals for this particular area. For us, it's expanding the White River Greenway north from its current terminus to 146th Street, which will go across Connor Prairie property. But it's also providing connectivity between the city of Carmel, Clay Township, and the city of Fishers, and ultimately the existing Connor Prairie experience on the east side of the river. What this project ultimately does is provide that critical connection, a public access point, allowing more people from Fishers to get over into Carmel and utilize our services, but also to allow our residents to be able to better utilize Connor Prairie's existing services. And then it also becomes the linchpin for one of the other things that we envisioned within our current master plan, which is the development of a White River Ecology Center or Education Center, where we can really begin teaching the public about the importance of the White River historically as well as to the current future and not current times and into the future, excuse me. And without that connectivity between Fishers and Carmel and Clay Township, we don't believe it's going to be viable for us to do that ecology center. So this becomes a linchpin to help us with the funding for this next phase of the White River plan as far as Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation is concerned, which is the further expansion of the Greenway and the development of that new facility. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
I don't have any.
Matt?
No, I can speak briefly to the other partners that are involved. Hamilton County Parks has committed funding. Conner Prairie has committed some funding. And Fishers has committed at least through the design of their side of the trail with hopes that they can get it funded shortly as well. So it's not a,
Thank you.
we'll have a landing point.
And I should have mentioned that one of the things that we knew in order to build upon our vision for the White River Corridor is that it was always going to be a joint partnership. It wasn't something that Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation could do alone, partially because some of the areas that we're wanting to expand upon, where the River Education Center will go, where parts of the trail will go, are not owned by us. They're owned by Conner Prairie. So we've worked with them very closely. We know there's opportunities for easements and or donations, whichever is going to work best for those assets to take place. As we look further south, which isn't part of this scope, but again, creating this linchpin for the further growth of the White River Greenway, to the south, we're going to have to work with Martin Marietta, which owns some of the property that we want to extend south to get to 96th Street. So this has always been visioned as something that was going to require the participation of many players: Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation, our fiscal resources, of course, the township and city, Conner Prairie, Fishers, and other partners.
But to be clear, this will be, when the bonds expire, this will be a Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation asset. Just because there's partners helping us, it will be a parks asset.
Yes.
I just want to add that I've talked to Christine Altman a lot about this. And some of the people from Conner Prairie took me on a driving tour all along the area to show me what was happening a couple months ago. So I'm well aware. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. And I was remiss, Hamilton County also was always viewed as a critical partner.
Matt, appreciate you bringing me up to date, because it was one of my questions. Is anybody else going to partner and help on this? Second, when I look at the map that we got from the stuff, it's all this bridge is going to be built on Conner Prairie property. Are they going to deed that to Carmel Clay Parks Department? Because I see we're tying off of the county park, which is at 126th Street. And when I look on the GIF on the county, this is all Conner Prairie property that we're going through. Are they going to easements
The commitment,
or?
the one meeting I've had with Conner Prairie, and there's been several conversations with them, their executive director, whose name is
Norman Burns.
Norman Burns, and the president of their board have committed to do whatever Mr. Bosma thinks is most prudent for the township, as far as either donating the land or creating a
Perpetual easement.
200-year easement, or whatever it takes. They are very amicable. They've only had one request, and that is that, there's some, it's either elevated or there's a fence put in that they said that they would cover the cost of, just so that people aren't going off the trail and stumbling onto their property.
And that's consistent with all the conversations I've had with Conner Prairie as well. They know that they have to participate in that type of manner in order to make not only this project, but some of the future envisioned projects possible.
Okay, I was just wondering, because, we're building something for the parks. It's not on park property and stuff, so I was wondering how that was going to work. And Brian, you can probably figure that out for us, can't you?
Well, I guess I just worked its way onto my list. I didn't realize that was an issue till just now. May I ask a question, though, Mr. President?
Sure can.
Matt, and Michael, when you said there were partners for the purposes of our project, not the master plan, but our specific project, the bridge and the South Trail, is that the trail? That we're funding all by ourselves, correct? There's no contributions from others toward that. The contributions are toward other parts of the master plan.
Not on where we tie into the county, we land on county property. They're going to help pay for their trail beautification to match what's in line with ours. There'll be a little bit of crossover.
Okay.
For continuity's sake.
Reason I'm asking is, as Crow, Angie, Stino, and I are planning your bond issue, the cost of the project is fairly critical. And so it would be my recommendation, and I'm going to look for Angie to nod her head here, that those portions of the project are separate from our project. They can join, they can be complementary, but that's not part of our project, and Angie's shaking her head as well, because some of the limitations on what you can issue a bond for have to do with the cost of the project. So looks like it's Angie and my recommendation that we consider, while we've got partners, there's a big plan, a big master plan. Our project, which is the bridge and the South Trail, is a standalone project, and other portions are complementary. Angie, do you agree?
I do, Brian. That's absolutely correct, and what we need to be mindful of, so we stay within those limitations.
And the way I've envisioned this too, I think is consistent with that, in that very similar to the bond projects along 111th Street with the roundabouts and the internal roundabout within Central Park, which is being funded solely through Park Board proceeds, thanks to the township as well. Those are separate projects, but were coordinated in that they transpired at the same time so that we got energies, but they were independent projects of each other.
And just one more thought, if I can, Mr. President, and this is also for the Historical Society project, Deb. It's my hope, and it may be aggressive at this point, but it's my hope that on the 22nd, we will also present you with a draft project agreement for both projects. And because we've been through this with the parks here on all these other projects, it may not be a big deal.
Yeah.
The Historical Society will be starting from scratch on it, but I will get Deb's contact information. And if nothing else, we'll have a proposed project agreement, maybe not one that's ready for approval by the other parties, but that will be ready for you all to approve a draft of on the 22nd to take care of some of these cooperative issues that need to happen, similar to what we did with the Dad's Club.
Okay. Michael and Matt, maybe you can answer this. If I look at this map we got off of that 57 page of the Greenway study, it says it starts here at the county park. What we're funding is the South Trail, which means the trail on our side of the river to the bridge, and then Fishers and whomever's going to take the rest over from there.
That's correct, Paul.
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Check on the public.
Any public questions? Anybody from the public want to speak? Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael.
So the hearings are closed, Mr. President.
Hearings are now closed. Action items, resolution number 2020-09-08-01, preliminary determinations to proceed with the Historical Society building project and reimbursements expenses.
I so move.
I second.
So properly been moved and seconded. Any discussions? All in favor, say goodbye by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Passed 3-0. Resolution number 2020-09-08-02, preliminary determination to proceed with the White River Pedestrian Bridge and Trail Improvement Project reimbursement expenses.
I so move.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Pass 3-0. Action items completed. Other business?
I have a question for Mr. Bosma. The tagline, I just want to be clear so people understand what reimbursed expenses are. That is what enables the township to move forward with design and then be reimbursed later?
That's correct. Yeah, the tax code allows, if you adopt an official reimbursement resolution, you can do that. So that's what that will portend. Mr. President, may I confess to an error here? Working over the weekend by myself over Labor Day and preparing an agenda remotely without the assistance of a very capable assistant. The date of the meeting at the top and the date that you stated at the start of the meeting are incorrect. It's September 8th, not September 26th. I was obviously working off a prior item, so I'll take full measure for that. But the record did say it was the 26th, so it's officially Tuesday, September 8th at 8 a.m.
I was just reading what was in front of me.
I know, I'm sorry, my mistake. You caught a couple of items here, so.
Mr. Bosman, maybe you can answer this, maybe this isn't at the right time. Maybe Angie can answer this. With this being bonds, are they going to be raising the tax rate on the township, on the property taxes, or what's this going to do towards the property taxes?
I'm going to put my microphone right by my phone so Angie Stino of Crow can answer that question.
Thank you. So as we are looking at structuring these two bonds, these will be amortized over 20 years, a level debt service, payable by a property tax. The maximum tax rate impact that we are projecting at this point is a little under 1 cent per $100 of assessed valuation. So a very small tax would be required to fund both of these projects.
And you're doing that off of your conservative growth assumptions, though, and there's a chance, if we continue to perform, City of Carmel's assessed value performs as it has historically, that may be mitigated even further. Is that an accurate?
That's absolutely correct. Our assumption for when we ran our initial numbers, we're really just holding that assessed valuation steady. So this assumes no growth, as we would anticipate to actually achieve, as we have seen over the last 5 years. This is holding the existing 2020 assessed valuation steady. And if we were to do that, that would be the impact. But you're absolutely correct, Matt, that there's likely that rate would be reduced just based on the continued growth of the township and its tax base.
Thank you.
And I'll report that Angie did say the Pledge of Allegiance remotely. I could hear her.
Thank you, Brian. Board comments?
We're excited.
I echo that. This is really an exciting time.
Hey, these are some great projects that I think will benefit the Clay Township and everything. Call for any other comments? Call for adjournment?
Can we get an update on Chuck? Maybe everybody else has had one.
Yeah.
Sure. I talked to him last evening, and he's doing well. He went without his back brace the day before, and he realized that last night when I talked to him that was not a good idea. So, but he's recovering. He's doing well. I talk to him about it every day, so he's in the loop.
Good.
Yep.
And Debbie's been doing a great job as the deputy trustee. There's been a lot of, with the other projects that you all have funded, there's a lot of documentation that goes through. We completed the purchase of this building from Trico. That was completed 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And Debbie was in charge of all signatures and transfers on that one, did a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Thanks,
do you want
Debbie.
an update on the
you.
projects?
Yeah. Matt, you want to update us on them? We got a lot of them going.
Yep.
So, Fullingwell Park is under construction and moving forward. Cary Grove Park is under construction and moving forward. The Children's Pavilion at Cox Hall is moving forward, full steam ahead, and we'll probably have a dedication ceremony towards the end of the year. We'll all be informed about that. We'll be breaking ground on Badger, our 2 biggest projects, Badger Field and the new Carmel Clay building, Clay Township building, here within the next month. We will, I believe Envoy, who's been our construction manager, is coordinating groundbreaking ceremonies for both of those. So that's all I know about them. I know there will be, but date to be determined. The park's entrance improvements have gotten a little quirky with utility issues, but broke ground on the internal part last week, I think. And hope to have 2 of those entrance improvements completed by the end of the year.
We're closing 111th Street this week.
Well,
West Park will be starting.
that's right. West Park bids came in, did a little with Dave Ford and the parks, did some value engineering